You know, it's time to bring in our next guest. And I always feel weird saying he's ending his first year at Rutgers because he's not. He's ending his 13th year, but it's his first year as a member of the Big Ten. He is the head coach, Greg Schiano, who joins us. And Greg, was there anything good that could come out of the fact that you had to recruit during a pandemic the last 10 months?
As strange as it sounds, Mike, there is. And, you know, I tip my hat to our coaches and to Eric Joseph, who is our director of player personnel, because he did an incredible job of pivoting very quickly, when we all got quarantined. And a bunch of guys that weren't great with technology and Zoom and all those other things became really good at it through his help. And we were able to get a lot of guys, that we became very, very familiar with and built relationships with using that technology. So, we've talked about it often. When this virus moves out, when the vaccine takes a hold, we're going to use a lot of the technology things that we've learned. So as crazy as it is, there are some positives.
Well, as someone who knows Jared Nardo well, it's hard for me to imagine coaches might not do well with technology. But how would you describe this recruiting class, your first one back in charge at Rutgers?
Well, I'm thrilled. I mean, we have some really good football players that are cultural fits for our program, and that's really what we look for. Do they love football, and are they a cultural fit? And certainly we wouldn't be recruiting them if they weren't talented. But we got longer. I think we got faster. We got bigger. And, I think that we have a strength coach who's the best in America, and Jay Butler. So what we do at that length is go pack some pounds on them, some muscle on them, and they don't get slower. And that's when they can become really good players.
The first thing you said when we're looking at a recruit is, do they love football? Can you elaborate on that? I'm curious, how often do you run into someone and you're like, well, he's talented, but I can just tell he doesn't love it?
No, there's a lot of players. And I'll tell you, having coached in the National Football League and having coached in Division I football, that may sound weird. There's a lot of guys who like being a football player. They like the things that go along with it. There's fewer guys that truly love the game. They love working out. They love being in the facility. They love meeting. They love watching film. They just love everything about it. And those are my kind of guys. And I don't know what coach who doesn't love those kind of guys, but I think in recruiting, you really need to get close to people to find out if that's true. And that's where I think I'm very proud of our staff. They worked very, very hard to make sure that these guys that we signed today are cultural fits with our program.
The second thing you said was it needs to be a cultural fit. If you had to put a cultural fit in a sentence or two, what is the Rutgers cultural fit?
Well, our culture is really simple, Mike. It's family, trust, job. And, families forget about me. I love you. I sacrifice for you. So we're looking for unselfish players. And to us, the definition of trust is guys that are honest and guys that do the right thing. So if you have a bunch of guys that are really willing to sacrifice for one another, they tell the truth and they do the right thing, then can you chop? Can you do it all the time? Can you just, no matter what bombs are going off, can you stay focused on that spot? And when we find those guys, not only do we go after them hard, but it's a natural fit. Those kind of people are hard to find, but when you get them, they feel very comfortable with our staff and our players.
It's only been one full cycle for you, but in what ways did recruiting feel different this time versus your first go-around in Piscataway?
Well, someone asked me that earlier today, and I really felt like we kind of picked up where we left off, which is a good thing, because I thought we were recruiting at a really high level when we left Rutgers. Thank goodness we didn't have to go back to the early stages, because I'm not sure I could take that. But we really, I feel, landed a really good group of young men that are going to fit us perfectly. And now the challenge is, hey, we got to step it up another. We went from here to here. Now we got to really accelerate and go to the level that's going to allow us to become a championship level program. And that's the hardest step. We know that, but we can't wait to keep going.
One of the things that's different is the last time you were doing this, you had until February. And now technically you do, Greg, but it sort of feels like everyone has decided they're basically getting just about everyone to agree in this first signing day in mid-December.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Mike. When people say early signing date, I kind of usually call it timeout. I tell them, look, guys, this is the signing date. If you want to refer to the next one as the late signing date, I'm all with you, because I don't know what the percentage early on. Now with COVID, I'm not sure, but before the percentage was well in the high 90s of guys, of all the eligible players, the ones that signed.
Greg, if there's 10, 20 things that are very important for you to succeed at your job right now. I would assume one of the highest ones is keeping in-state kids to go to Rutgers. Put into words for me how important that specific task is for you.
Well, players are everything, right? Without players, there is no coaches, there's no football programs. Finding the right players is the most important thing. The guys that, like I said, really, really good athletes, good students, and a cultural fit.
Greg Schiano.
We hope they're from our area. We hope they're from New Jersey and New York. Like if you draw a 2.5-hour circle around our campus, there is such great football played, because that takes you into PA, Eastern PA. It takes you into New York, Long Island, down into South Jersey, all the way down into Delaware. I mean, you're talking about some of the best football that's played in the country, and really the kids are well coached. And that's what excites me is we get guys that, we're very close with their coaches. We get good information. I tell our coaches all the time in recruiting, the only thing worse than no information is bad information, because then you make decisions that you wish you didn't make. But the relationships my staff and I have with the coaches, I really feel like we've landed on the guys that we want, and 11 of them are from New Jersey. That's exciting to me.
Greg Schiano, the head coach of the Scarlet Knights. Appreciate your time. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mike.